there's comments we're going to skip. So I think there's at least 3 topics I want to discuss, and so we'll just go in order. Start with the splash pad update. I'll give my view, and then Lauren, you can chime in. So we had at least 2, if not 3 meetings since our last MPG meeting. Most recently was Monday evening. So what we have done is the original RFP, this is a reminder, went out on the 20th of September with the due date of November 1st, and we got no responses back. We've since spoken to several of the vendors who have expressed interest. Just tell you a little bit, for those of you who don't. When we've talked to other towns that are doing splash pads, that are municipalities, which are many of them, they sent it out to 300 people, right? And they got back, Plant City issued out to 300, got back 2. And the other city, maybe it's nameless, that Jacob spoke to, sent out 300 and got back 1 or 2.
City of Dundee.
700.
Yeah, so I don't know.
There was one that was sent out to like 600 and they got 2 responses back, and that was just for RFQs and a full RFP.
So these vendors, yeah, it's typical, but so sending it out blindly, and expecting it back is the wrong way to do it. We're now in conversations with 3 or 4 qualified vendors. We've issued an addendum. We're issuing an addendum this week that says, here's some additional guidance. You have more time, because we issued a second deadline, and that's coming past. So there's 3 or 4 Jacob is working with. We had a meeting with Lauren and Jacob, and we agreed going forward, at least for the splash pad, and then we can revisit it. But at the last meeting, we kind of talked about a champion with each one of the vendors, and what Lauren recommended is the only way to really do it properly. Is there needs to be one person talking to all the vendors, and that's going to be Jacob. And so he's doing that, and we would hope. We did not agree to a hard deadline for the addendums due back until we talk to all of them and say, because if we issue another deadline and say it's January 3rd, and the 3 guys all say, I can't do it by January 3rd, well, then it gets to be kind of silly at this point. So instead, we're going to do it the other way. Is what do you need to know from us? What can we provide to you? What would you, and then therefore, when can you respond by? It's not the strict discipline that you would normally have, but given where we are, we think that's the best approach. So our plan, though, if I take back the last schedule that we talked about, or that we at least kicked around, is that we would hopefully have everything back. This is my view. Okay, by mid-January, some will come back sooner, and then we would have 2 weeks to evaluate and say, vendor A looks like they would be our first choice versus vendor B. And then spend the month of February negotiating, talking, add a frog, subtract this, and then go back to CROA at their second, the second, they have 1 or 2, they have 2 meetings a month, right?
2 meeting, a workshop and a.
Right, so we would go back to that and ask for their approval in the February meeting, sign a contract March 1st. We could do it, that we think makes sense. That's conditional upon getting satisfactory responses, and if not, it just slips a month, right, or whatever. But I think that's the discipline that we want to be able to do, and I think that's possible. So I'll pause for questions.
What are we expecting the cost to be at this point?
So we had a little difference of opinion, but I think Lawrence worded it correctly. Well, let's have a I go back to further and say, we'd like to question another 50,000, so we can have this added feature or this added service. But to go back with kind of
It just decided to shut down.
okay, still nobody on though?
Nobody on.
Okay, so my view was to go back, Jim, with 525, there was a different view, it says, well, let them all come in and then we'll negotiate them down. My view is let them come in at 525, we can negotiate them down to 575. Okay, and then use that extra money below 525 to put in stuff that they won't be, you know, chairs, tables, shade, etc., whatever, right?
And they're gonna, you need a contingency anyway, they're gonna find stuff.
Right, they're gonna find stuff.
We're gonna find stuff.
Well, and the concern, which I knew, but I kind of forgot. In my mind, I kept thinking, gee, it's an advantage to put it there because there's kind of an infrastructure. But the reality is, thinking, is it easier to build a house on a vacant lot or knock down a house? And the answer is, they really have to pull out what's there. It's this added expense of the quote demolition. And they can't use the pipes that are there. So it's not, look, oh, that's great. We already have that spot. Now, it's easy to demolition, but it just added complexity. And as a reminder, we told, we said that it was 600. And my understanding is talking to Jared, they said, fine, but we give you 525 and they're gonna hold the contingency at 75, which is smart. But we can go back, the first 75 asked is still within, it wouldn't be new news. So that's a long answer to your question.
No, that's okay. If you want to know, we just got the November financials.
Yes,
Just a little brief.
thank you.
You've talking about the reserves and the funds. So the fund is down to 2024. This board this year has approved $1,365,000 in reserve replacement spending. Some of that is not going to happen until next year, but the last meeting alone, I believe there's close to 300,000 they approved. And that doesn't include the 300,000 for the bathrooms, because I don't know that breakdown between what's capital and what's going to be reserved. I don't know if that.
Yeah, it was in the community presentation, but I can't remember that off the top of my head.
Okay, all right. So that bathroom project was approved.
Yeah.
So that's another 300,000. In the capital fund, we are sitting at 4.2 million. We've only spent 185,000 that I know of. But they've approved 776,000. And that includes, I split the bathroom 150 each.
Yeah.
I don't know if Spring Park payments are all complete yet.
It should be as of the November financials.
Okay. So we're still in pretty good shape on the capital.
And the change to the charter
Yes,
is effective
January 1st.
January 1st.
On recording, just to be completely accurate,
Yeah.
but the goal is file at the end of December for a January 1 start date.
Right. So if somebody sells their house on January 15th, it would be subject to the new.
Is subject to the new charter.
And based upon historical information, that number would add about $1.5 million per year.
A lot depends. Now, phase 2 of Island Village, they're expecting to sell like 50 homes and 45 townhomes next year alone.
How big is phase 2 though in total?
339 homes and townhomes.
Okay. And the first bit of phase 2.
Start in January or February.
So 50 homes times,
They'll all be over 7,000.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
do you think it's gonna be more than the 1.5?
Well, if the town has its normal churn,
Yeah.
now if you're adding new stuff, that new stuff is just,
Oh,
Just-
wow.
Now,
Just-
there haven't been, I mean, the market's been slow. Last couple of months. When we missed our budget because there were so few houses sold in November. But that's typical for the election and holiday season.
Right.
In the spring, that picks back up again.
Yeah, and interest rates are going the right direction, which should help.
Yeah. So, again, 851 would be mostly a capital project, so.
Yeah.
We'll have
Okay.
to decide, and on something like that, what's gonna go out with this, maybe expecting a stipend to the residents to contribute or something
but,
like that.
okay, but doing air math, you've got 4.2 million. You're going to subtract 760 to,
Well, probably another, I would say, depending on the bathroom.
The bathroom is
is that not in the 760?
$130,047 to reserves
Okay,
and $169,953 from capital.
Okay. So I was pretty close splitting it.
okay.
Yeah.
So just again, doing air math, you're down to 3.5 million. Just doing air math, 3.5. You would add next year, make up a number, 1.5 million for the collecting business as usual. So now you're up to 5 million.
Splash pad.
Minus-
Okay, now you're gonna get splash pad minus 0.6.
At 851.
Okay, and minus 700,000 for stuff people are gonna come up with that they're gonna, new playgrounds and whatever, just there's some business as usual churn like this year with people.
Jacob at the last meeting or two
Yeah.
meetings ago had a report as to all the reserve projects that they want to do.
That would.
So that's just landscaping.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's not, landscaping should
That's
go
all
against.
reserve.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
The problem comes in if the reserves fund goes low.
Well, yeah, okay, but now,
Money's going to have to come out of cap.
to remediate.
Well, hopefully it'll be nice.
One year.
Again, the good news is capital.
We got
Yeah.
4 plus, let me get computer one again.
I think you'll let down.
Okay.
Anyway, I just
That's
want
fine.
to.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I think we're okay for now, just as we start getting into beyond the splash pad.
Got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're just gonna have to monitor the funds and see what they'll do.
And just the conversation, of the next 60 to 90 days are critical, just wrapping up on splash pad. This is our first project that we're doing. Right, it's gonna be visible. We want to have the ribbon cutting next summer. And, people will say, look, we've done, out of the, not the developers doing things, but coming out, this is the first new addition in the last 7 years. What's this? That's not addition. What's that?
Those big, I mean, it's.
Those are all replacements.
Yeah.
Those are replacements. Something new.
Yeah.
It's been 7 years since we've done something new. The gym at the Island Village, that's a development. This is the town doing it. The town saying, we're doing something. So that'd be exciting. And if we get it done in the next 6-7 months, I think that would be a great confidence builder showing, look, we can do something. People benefit to want to do it. We don't want to have any hiccups with, which is why we're going to try to do it, manage the, and the issue, and then we can wrap up on this, is we per se don't have a project manager. We have Christian and Jacob and people from Grand Manners who have day jobs who are going to
Oh,
help
do they?
do this.
Christian's our new director of facilities.
So he's going to help drive projects. Okay,
Well,
all right.
quick thing on
Yeah.
all of that, summarizing, once we do have a vendor selected, there is the opportunity to look at, just for your comment of, okay, do you really rip out where the, now I'm waiting for that. Yeah. It's not very good. That's some stuff and jointly and also wraps courts of tennis courts, I don't remember. But, that's, right.
But there's that.
Anyway, if there's other options, kind of with them.
So there's the strip of land in front of the tennis courts where there's a picnic bench and there's something else. That's,
Yeah, it needs to be contiguous with pool, period.
Yeah.
So it's all net enclosure, so it's either straight to the right or straight back.
Yeah.
Having looked at it, that's why I went straight back.
well, as we pre-select somebody and they come out and, they'll
Yeah.
start looking at it and it maybe an option. Okay, there's no other comments?
I have a question. Are you gonna run for?
I don't think so.
Is anybody else running?
You don't want another full-time job?
No, I think I'd rather.
There's two seats up, two,
Seats that are 3-year terms.
Chairman of the Finance Committee.
and
Yeah.
I think I could contribute.
candidates by January 5th or something, after the holidays.
6th, I believe.
I've had a lot of people come after me, but at this point, I'm not.
Okay, all right. If
I'd
there's-
love it if you did, but
No.
anybody would want to.
Okay. If there's no other comments, well, let's pivot. I know we had the CRO meeting last week, but Mark, if you could just give us all an update as to where we are with CALIC and the 851 renovation slash enhancement
That's what we talked about during the CRO meeting is having them go ahead and finish the drawings through construction documents. So drawings that can be put in for permit can be fully estimated because it's a complete set of plans. And the design is complete. So the shell of the building plus redoing the interior. So getting all that done. So at that point, it is the number to build it and be ready to go. The CALIC, myself, anyways, looked at it, does think that the cost of it should be on the lower range of kind of what they threw out as really rough estimates. So somewhere in the 3 millions should do it for the total cost, but who knows? We'll find out when we get it totally done. But that is still cheaper than building back a building the same size on that site, and why would you build something back that's the same size? The fixes to the building would make it last long-term. Again, it's new mechanical, stabilizing the exterior, getting it to where it needs to be, being service again, and then it's rearranging the interior, create more open office space, which is what helps with cost, to be able to house the employees that these guys have and create spaces that work well. It's redoing where the health counter is, internalizing that so that space can be closed off. So that we'll shop with things that are out there, don't need to be pulled in. Creating a conference room that's part of that for use by the management team, but also still a smaller meeting space. So all that's on one half. The other half is looking at ways to keep the various programs going in the meantime when the building is redone with flexibility for the future. Several things with that. Right now, there's 3 rooms that are interconnected along the front. What we're looking at doing, those 3 large rooms have the dividers in between as we know, they're very old and don't really isolate things well. The storage rooms are located with those are pretty small closets. And so in our revised plan, that was previewed a little bit, putting in a larger storage room that all the tables, everything else, anything that you would need is held in the storage room at the end of it. And then creating 2 large spaces that could be interconnected, depending on the cost of what a better divider is, of a multi-use space. That again is something more for meetings and things like this, so not the physical activities. I'll talk about where that would be in a second. So a multi-use space, a little bit bigger. So it's kind of a little bit larger than what's there now if you section off one of those areas. We're also gaining space. There's right now an inset into the middle rooms where there's some tall tables and stuff. You can reclaim that space and add that to the meeting room. So we're actually gaining space there. And then create, again, a better boardroom space. Still as flexible as what was there, being able to rearrange it, but definitely something with a little bit better technology, ability to broadcast and display things and record things and still have plenty of space for the audience, for the public that wants to come watch meetings. For the classes that are more activities besides using spaces like this, there is a back large room that was one of the later additions that's towards the back of the building. And it's isolated by the storage room, an IT closet, and some other stuff. But creating that more of a studio space that could be used for physical activities. So that's something that could be used for dance, the self-defense classes, all those things could be back there. And that way it's isolated. The whole point of this is so that right now, the teams have to rearrange these rooms constantly and breaking down tables, pulling them all out, redoing them completely if it's for a physical activity class. They have to take everything out and then sometimes the same day put it all back again. So the idea is to keep those things separate and really understand the scheduling and the type of classes. It's one of the things we'll have to do is with the meetings going forward is really looking at who is renting the space, how many people they typically have, and then seeing if there's a way to working on scheduling that and seeing what the needs really are. So plan will give some flexibility for quite a while on that until there is something else built. They can pull away some of the physical activities. We talked about trying not to have those in that building, but at least there will be space there to do that. And then obviously it's redoing all the mechanical systems, et cetera. So all that should be very doable.
What are the key dates, Mark?
What's that?
What are the key dates going forward?
I don't know if the board actually did. They sort of approved going forward with it. I'm not sure if they've officially.
They asked us to get the updated scope of work to add the design drawings and the construction, or design development and construction drawings.
Yeah, that's it.
So that I should have that updated scope from Colic by Friday morning, so we can put it in a board packet.
Board package, okay. So once that's approved, they can keep on going with the drawings, get those done. It's up to them to tell us when they can get it done, obviously.
Is that 30, 60?
Christmas is hopeless, but it's probably another couple months, I would say, to get the drawings done. And as I said, there's probably a few meetings in between just to get all the information to feed to those guys to be able to integrate into the drawings. And also some coordination at some point with the engineering team of what IT stuff needs to be there.
So by the end of the first quarter, maybe
Yes.
you have
I think by then.
you have completed design plans
Yes.
with complete remediation and enhancements to the building.
Yeah.
And maybe it's a month later,
Yeah.
but
Renovation is better as opposed to remediation. There's
Okay, renovation.
We're thinking
Yeah.
remediate.
yes.
Needs to be fixed.
Okay, so that's,
So the drawing should be done, yes, the first quarter.
yeah,
Permitting is a toss up, and that can be a couple months.
sure.
And then while you're doing depends on how you're doing the permitting, but an RFP should go out for contractors as the drawings are being finished up to go ahead and get those guys going so that when everything is ready to go, they can put them in for permit and get going. to fix the building, it should be doable by the end of the year at that point.
If you award by July.
Yeah. There's exterior wall work, there is bigger stuff that needs to be ordered, so main HVAC units, panels, some things that used to be a holdup, I don't know if they still are. New windows, could take a while, so getting a contractor on board to look at that.
But none of those are sequential items. So none of those are, the items that may have lead times like the AC are not sequential. You can do everything. And then when the AC gets done, the AC gets done, same thing with windows and things.
Yeah, and honestly, it might be worth even getting this out on the street, find a contractor earlier so that they can order some of that stuff ahead of time.
Yeah. So, yeah, we'll get to that.
So there's several things we can talk about in the new year of maybe get an RFP out for the construction of it. Possibly get that going. The reality is the next set of drawings that group would produce, design development drawings are something that they could bid off of and figure it out. It'll be super accurate now. But anyway, there's possibilities to make it faster if we want to, or let it go to full construction documents, go out bid. But there's, if you want to do it faster, there's ways to do it faster.
Do we feel confident that when they get the drawings done, they would have a pretty good, accurate cost estimate? Or do we have to actually wait till we get the contractors?
You get a contractor to look at it.
So if somebody wanted to pivot whatever noise that's in the system and say, I want to build a new one, sometime middle of next year, you would have your firm price and it would be 2.8 to 3 point something million. And they could say, gee, I don't want to spend that money. I want to invest another 2 years and build a new building. They could at that point.
By then,
They could.
one board member who is vehemently against repair
Yeah.
will no longer be on the board. Right.
Who's,
But
There's nobody on the phone.
Andrew,
Oh,
Andrew?
he's already leaving?
Yeah, his is a 1 year.
Oh, good. And he could run again?
He could.
announced that he's not going to.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the rest of them are good with moving forward with it. It'd be one thing if I hadn't done all the test fits that I had of seeing what to do with Lot D and sticking something, different uses on the site that we had. You can put a bigger building, there's a fine balance between the amount of parking and the building you can fill. But I'm not sure what all you're going to gain. You're going to gain more meeting space, classroom space, but you're still not going to get that indoor gym, blah, blah, blah. That is what the push has been for the larger building. So
Okay.
it's,
Well, again, CCDD is talking about rehiring Dick's Height to.
Oh, good. Sure.
There's supposed to be a presentation at their meeting
So-
next week from Dick's
So
Height.
they said stop now and starting again.
It's my
They didn't-
understanding
yeah.
that they
They
didn't
didn't
fire
terminate
them, they
them.
just paused
They
them
paused
based on it.
And that's great.
And the.
They're gonna go do a survey and a master plan too while they're at it?
Let's hope not.
Okay, God bless.
a joint-
see what they did.
We know what we're doing. We're gonna do a splash pad. We're gonna do a repair. What's the right word? Repair? I was supposed to use it.
Renovation.
Restoration. We're gonna do a repair and restoration and enhancement. Right? Those are the two big things that are on the board, or on our plan. We should, at the next meeting, when we'll have feedback on the splash pad, right? Because at that point, we theoretically should have, we'll have either, 2, 3, or 4 worthy vendors, or if not, we're gonna have to pause and figure out a different approach. We'll continue to make progress on 851. At the next meeting, we should talk about, okay, of all the other things that were in our plan, right? For phase 1, parks enhancements.
Yep.
And lot B.
So what I'd like to see is the board at some point go ahead and approve design fees to at least get it rolling of what the design of those things could be. So for instance, in each of these parks,
Yes,
Artisan back there in the back, East Village, by the field there, North Village, all of them had a meeting room and 2 bathrooms.
Right.
Probably design a big building and they could change the outside look of it, blah, blah, blah. You can at least get it designed now, so it's ready to go when the money shows up. And know what they cost. So by spending design fees now to design the baseline version of it, it could be moving forward. So
so
if there is funds left up, we know what 851 is. Go ahead and try and get some spending to get an RFP and get a design for what those pavilion pieces may be and
Right.
some of the other little things.
And what I'll tee up at the next meeting is a discussion, I'll send out a document first, which is here were the 8 projects, right? And do we want to, prioritize them into 2 buckets and say, okay, let's go after this bucket first because we can do that for 300,000 and try to fit that in? Do we want to say, no, let's do them all now, get, design approval and whatever approach you want to take, let's have that discussion, I think at the next meeting. Again, I was doing the air math, but if we have to spend, $3 million, there's still theoretically money left over. And then you'll start to rebuild it. And that's assuming, wherever the bids come for the 851.
Yeah.
We may want to say, I'm not going to ask for anything other than some design money until we get the final. So we don't get people nervous. Until we get the final prices on 851, we're not going to ask to go spend another $1 million. What we are going to ask is to go spend another 30,000, 50,000, whatever the right number is, for the first phase of the projects, right?
So when do you want to bring that up?
I'll bring it up at the next board meeting. Okay, and I don't know who was our parks. We did have you were. So maybe Jim, you could, Jim, you and I can sit down. I'll give you the list. You've got it here. If you want, we can kick it around before the next meeting and have a 1-pager to foster a discussion.
Is the design, what's RFQ? Is that design?
That's all.
Qualifications,
Oh.
so that's not getting somebody in action.
Yeah,
It's just getting
just,
lined up somebody that's actually qualified to it, then you send them an RFP for their actual fees, schedule, and
this would just be the
final.
What do you call a design fee? Like, what's the problem?
It'd be an RFP going out
All
proposal
for design?
to design X.
Right,
Have
okay.
to define what that scope is.
Yeah.
It's a little bit inclusive, so it probably is every time.
So Joe, are you
Which one's
looking for
used?
the design fee discussion to be on the board agenda in January?
no.
No, okay, just the committee.
I think maybe, it depends how, but I think we probably have to have it.
Yeah, just a discussion item.
I think it should be a discussion item.
Yeah.
So when it come back, right? Because, we had the heritage, I mean, I'm just trying to look and see all of these. And the answer is, most of these need design. I'm just trying to see if any of the parks don't need, and they all do.
Yeah, they all need something. I
So
would
could we-
suggest doing the smaller ones that are lower hanging fruit first. and
I would
then
too.
Really decide what the bigger buildings are
Right.
later.
Yeah,
Well, I feel like if we're doing splash pad at Lakeside, like Lakeside probably is not a priority.
well, but except that,
Yeah, that to me is the lead one, because that's a bigger building. Anything
Right.
here is a bigger building, so to me, that's.
So
have
we
to get a
should
51.
knock out those smaller,
Yeah,
Well,
the smaller ones.
but
so
East
there's
Village is-
East Village.
huge.
The East
I mean,
Village was
the
one.
footprint.
yeah, but the projects, right? I mean, there were 8 projects. we had.
Well, there's a big field. To me, what I'm talking about is getting the building done with the toilets.
Oh,
As
okay.
opposed to-
Yeah,
I
yeah.
got it, I got it, yeah.
The field itself is regraded. For instance, I just watched a huge birthday party there driving by. While there's sports stuff, people practicing in other parts of that field. If anybody has to use the restroom,
Yeah.
that field could be way more useful with a building, bathrooms.
Yes.
So what we,
buildings are
what we,
there.
just as a reminder, and Dennis, you're new, and for the parks enhancements, we said in North Village, we would add shade, seating and technology. We would refresh the meeting room that's there. In the east lawn area, where the fields are, we would build a pavilion, new bathroom, some technology. And for the pools, we would do more shade and technology. At Lakeside, for the Jones Room, we would reimagine that space, punch up the technology. And in Artisan, we would do a new playground, add bathrooms to the amphitheater, and at the playground, add a new bathroom. That was our,
Yeah, it's bathrooms and a meeting space also. That
okay, so,
would be special events for the
so,
theater.
so we get to, this was the list. We get to do two things. We get to prioritize it. If we want, we could say, you know what, let's just push that one off. That maybe was a great idea, but since then, we have another one. I mean, just because this is what here, we spent some time on it, but there's 8 projects here. We can say, you know what, I want to do 4 right away, 5 right away. And those 5, you know, we need to go do design work on the 5. By the way, it's all the design work. You may say, you know what, that's going to be too pricey. We're gonna move that off to phase 2. This one's easier to do. It's, you know, it's quick and et cetera. So it's taking this list and prioritizing it, and then
But after we get the design,
no, this list, after this list, we take this list,
Designs for all.
at the January meeting, we take this list.
Yeah,
Jim and his friends and maybe me say, okay, listen, here's the list. Here's a prioritized version of it. Then he says, you know what, you go get design work. You might as well do these 3 at the same time, because you go to the same guy. It's a simpler, so we say, okay. Then in February, we go back to Crowe, we gave him a heads up in January, and say, listen, we just want to go get design work for these 3 projects. We could do the work in 2026 or 2027, but because this was phase 1, okay, and there was general agreement by Crowe to do everything in phase 1, right? And we're not going to do the project sequentially. We're going to prioritize them, 851 splash pad, $500,000 of enhancements here. And I would argue 3 months later, go do more. I don't know what's been done, but go back to lot B and with the new plans and get that design done,
That is good design, yeah.
right?
So I would do lot B, do these pavilions, and part of the reason why is each of those, I was trying to put a meeting room with them. Well, guess where somebody can do all their classes?
Yeah.
From those outside folks that want to use space, those. And that's an easier building to build. 2 bathrooms, indoor space, it's this basically repeated. This room with 2 bathrooms repeated 3 times.
The size?
Close to it, yeah. The idea is this a little bit smaller, but
Okay.
it's general idea.
Okay.
We can look at that's part of the design process.
Yeah.
Is footprint. So for Artisan, the point of that one is weddings, special events, the incredible amount of stuff that could be going on at the amphitheater that's revenue generating.
Yeah.
Plus helping with playground.
And then if you,
East Lawn or end of East Lawn, that field, same thing. It's a good meeting spot
okay,
for folks that's in the middle of villages that
You could
don't
rent it.
have anything
well,
whatsoever.
because right now, this is the only, there's nothing.
Well, I'll be honest with you, we rent amphitheater for weddings now, but their struggle is they have to bring in porta potties and find food.
So you build that building at the top
Right,
of it.
birthday party, but between birthday,
Yeah.
or the Boy Scouts, or, you know, which
Right.
maybe you
Well,
don't.
that's what all these need to be is, my son's in Boy Scouts. The place we do meetings is ridiculous.
You do a Pinewood Derby in here, you line the whole thing up. Okay, all right,
Getting those other smaller buildings built, helping immensely create revenue.
okay. Thank you for that update. So the last topic of which we've hit some of, but Lauren, were there any other, or Jim, any other topics that came up at the board meeting relating to master planning?
So the board did discuss the topic they had discussed at the workshop, where they wanted to start talking about potential designs on Lot D for a large community center. They put a pin in that. But they would like to hold a joint session. They talked about a joint session with CDD in January after their Dix Height presentation, just to get everybody kind of aligned and start talking through the process, because
Okay.
any large project like that and
Right.
agreements are going to take a long time to come to. So
It's
just
great news to start that conversation. I'm surprised, please.
Don McDonald, he stressed that he talked to a school board member and there was no way that they were going to get the land
Right.
for the town hall.
And then he's looking at baseball field
There were
issues.
some other board members who disputed that and said they didn't necessarily agree that that's the final decision.
I
It
can
may not be
say
a final
pros.
decision, but the first meeting with the school was 2 years ago. And I spoke to several people who said it's 99% certain. I spoke to the guy and he told me it's certain. I just got to check with one more lawyer. And that's fine, and by the way, even if it is, tell me what the advantage of that is over Lot D besides
Well, it's
essentially
in a more
located.
central spot, but you
Okay.
still have to find a spot for the baseball fields, and that's actually the problem. Even if you get the land, the baseball fields have to show up somewhere.
And we know we're actually want more baseball fields as opposed to less.
What were you going to say?
Oh, I was going to say, if you even go back to end of 21 and through 2022, Corolla offered to purchase that open front field and that baseball field from the school district, and it was an instant no. So, and they've offered multiple times. even before-
So it's 4 years ago. Fine.
Yeah.
And let,
I'm just,
Yeah.
yes,
Sure.
that's that discussion.
thank you, good.
And I know, at least one person on the CCDD they were looking at possibly creating the fields in different spots. One of them was actually use one of the empty lots where they're building, one of the main ones along the boulevard, that are still empty between the office buildings, see if they would be willing to sell one of those.
Sure, for about $5
To
million.
build fields in a central spot on one of those properties. Is that happening? I don't know, but they were trying to find out.
That's an expensive baseball field.
Sure is, yes.
I mean, yeah.
If there's no we're doing. And so anyway,
Okay, got it. They're all having good for them. They're all working it through.
exactly, that's exactly it.
That's okay.
They have been heavily looking at different spots.
That's great.
It doesn't happen.
Okay, and if not, we have one spot.
Right. And regardless, as Alec and I have been talking, and a whole bunch of other people are somehow improving what we do have.
Okay,
And there's actually enough space here to build a second one the same size as the one that's there facing the other way.
okay.
Somebody would like.
Again, if CCDD is not involved, the only way that Crow can do it is to take out loans.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mortgage. With CCDD, they can go out and get bonding
but,
Yeah,
and all that.
that really is the way to do.
you have to, and
Yeah.
I think that's the easiest of the problems. You know, the bigger issue is, do we really need, it would be the community and the board members willing to commit $10 to $15 million to build it. And then how you finance it, everybody's got to, half the hands got to go up. Right?
Yeah, you have to do another community
It's
vote.
then open to Osceola County residents.
I-
But they can charge them a fee.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So
there's ways to,
there's ways to,
work around.
I don't think that's a problem personally.
and they're going to come all the way here to do what there?
Yeah, Reunion has a gym and some other parks that are owned by the PDD, and you never see a
That's just
non-union resident
Yeah.
utilizing them.
No.
And you,
And then people are using that as a huge issue.
yeah, well, it's they're creating, and then you just set the rates appropriately.
Yeah.
And by the way, if somebody wants to come in and have a wedding there and pay, $4,000 for the night to rent the thing,
Yeah,
and they're not a resident, I want to pay $4,000, whatever, I mean, you,
right. It's like what they do at Artisan. You want to rent out? Sure, we'll take the money.
Yeah.
Close for a day, they do that quite a bit. And whatever size that building is, when it has a gym and the rest of it,
yeah,
there is the opportunity to build a space like that that's higher up, which would be cool as heck. If you have a second or third floor with a roof deck and
Yeah.
space, you know what views are. that we create something that is nice right now for.
I think it's exciting. I think it's exciting. They want to have joint meetings and talk about it, and I think it's better than last year's conversation. So,
Yeah, right, they're definitely.
It's definitely more of a mind towards collaboration.
yes,
They're-
and, yeah, and that's fine. If Dick Height wants to go project manage it, so be it.
Let's see what happens.
Okay. Anything else that came up?
Those were the main master plan ones.
Okay, so just to summarize, this is great. We got, first of all, were the three people who didn't come, did they say they were coming today? I'm just wondering, because so you had Alec, Bob, and Marco.
Let me look at the,
Can you just look at the video? I couldn't tell from the video.
So it's his daughter's birthday.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right, he told Marco, I just did hear from, I spoke to Bob yesterday, I'm just, okay. So Jim and I will work on, for the playground, for the parks enhancements, to start that conversation. By the next month's meeting, we'll also have, hopefully feedback on the bids that we've received for the splash pads. And so that would be the two key things to do. And then the third is, for us to, when we talk, let me just change. The second thing would be parks enhancements / multifunction courts. Because if we're going to go do design work, I don't know, some synergy. Would you go give all the design work to one firm and say?
Not that's.
That's different.
More specialized, that's separate.
Okay.
I think the other pieces.
Pieces, okay, okay,
To work on the others.
got it. Questions? Dennis, anybody?
When's our next meeting?
Next meeting is it should be the third Wednesday of every month.
yes, moving forward, it should be the third Wednesday of the month.
And
It's just because November and December board meetings are wonky because of the holidays.
got it. And just for the third Wednesday for February and March, I will not be here and not being able to call in. So you all will carry on that way. I will be
So
here
January 15th.
Yes.
January 15th. And then,
Then the 19th and then the 19th.
cool. All right, before I close, anything else? Yeah.
I'm probably gonna, after the first of the year, drive around to each of these places again, just because it's been a long time, to just
Yes.
refamiliarize myself with
Right.
each of those areas and what we're talking about.
Again, I think it's North Village, East there, the East Village and Artisan are the.
And Lakeside.
Lakeside, I think, wait until whatever happens to the 51,
Yeah.
just because that is bigger.
Yeah.
But there was a couple things on Lakeside that kind of fell off of some extra, had a little parking lot next to the basketball court, but also in front of the basketball court along the 4-5 canal there is to build a couple of open pavilions with tables there, so there's more places for people to go.
Yeah, that
Food truck Fridays, all that stuff, yeah.
That dropped off the list.
Yeah, it did. That might be something that can be designed once and repeated.
Maybe something else with the petanque courts too, because those are never used and just,
But
the petanque courts.
Oh,
Nope, I never see anybody use them and they just sit there.
that's what I'm worried about, all these things we do, lawn sports, is being careful about what we do spend on them.
That's the,
Mini bocce.
yeah.
Right.
Right.
It would help if we build things regulation size, which is what failed in Artisan. But the structures that going in between the two, in North Village, between the two playgrounds, it's sort of the same thing I'm talking about by Lakeside, is pavilion with tables there for people to be able to do
Yeah.
parties and things that right now there's not that space.
But one thing I will commit to do is continue to monitor all the board projects to make sure we're not conflicting with timing and
Right.
locations.
And they don't steal money out of the capital fund, Jim.
Yeah.
That's your job.
The only outside project that might be is the maintenance shed, because I don't think you can really call it a shop. Because there's no bathrooms,
Right.
and it's really not a functional
This is the
area.
one. down
Oh, the one
so
on
there's a both.
one, like right off of Nash, yeah.
Yeah, that they,
On the way to Arson, yeah.
It's always so scary.
Yeah, so
Yeah, maybe
is
we
that
should-
ours? Is that ours?
that's, my maintenance team works out of there,
Out of-
and it's not,
I mean, every time I go by the bike, there's a car going in, or
Yeah.
a golf cart going in and out. Yeah.
so we're renting porta potties right now for there, because they don't have restrooms.
Oh, wow.
But you don't have plumbing back, you don't have to have water.
There is water, but there was never restrooms built back there.
Expensive, all right, because you gotta go tie it into the street.
Should be easy with
It just-
structure and street, but yeah, obviously all that can look better because it really does look like. I look
Yeah,
at
not
the
only an
Chadwick's,
eyesore, but it's just.
I turn and look at it every single time I drive over.
So that's the only kind of curveball you might see.
Okay, all right,
From a
well,
large expenditure that I see.
okay.
It's probably definitely worthwhile. One thing that I keep trying to remind myself of, with this backfield, when it gets resodded or whatever, they haven't approved that yet, have they?
No, that's in, I want to say the Q2 or Q3 plan of next year.
Okay,
What,
because I still need to write the board of, I remind myself every time I drive by it, they gotta clear out the brush that's around the edges of this to make the place even remotely safe. Right now, it has that 25, 30-foot buffer around it of just stuff that was never meant to be there.
Part of
It's
that
just not,
reserve area that we can't touch.
we better define what that is, though, that's in there. But it is a mess and not safe at all for kids playing, for the school or kids.
Wasn't it like turtles or something?
There's, yeah, some turtles in there. The soft-shelled turtles are over there. Yeah, and there's a box turtle or something.
doesn't sound like you touch it.
Checked ones are a problem, but it really is overgrown. If there's a way to find out what we can do to make it more visible into it, because it is not a safe environment for kids. They can disappear into it and they can be gone.
Yeah.
There's no park in the world is designed like this where you can't see into it. So there needs to be a look at making that a defendable space and something that's safe. It's not.
We also need to put bollards to prevent some more
Well, I
tire
was gonna
marks.
say, then you'd know when the pickup truck is doing donuts in it because you could see it. If you didn't have all the brush in the way, they would have had a little less time to do it.
Okay.
Safety concern that needs to be addressed.
Did approve 80,000 for the Heritage Hall front portion of Spring Park, plant sod and mulch installation.
Yeah.
But that's what's going on now, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
This, yeah.
Yeah, so that's, they gotta keep moving people
that
around.
sod cost 80,000,
Sod, plant material, mulch.
just for the front?
Yeah, well, it's from,
Yeah, I know, it's just.
Yeah.
It's astounding how much it really costs.
Yeah, no,
Oh, labor.
Well, because it's but it's the cheap grass, so you can't imagine how much it costs, but okay.
thank you,
All
Charlie.
right, nice break. Thank you, everybody. Lauren, I sent you a note